I wanted to do a little video introducing this new way of working for me, which might not go on for ages. It might just be a little burst, but I have been really enjoying recording long form videos of me creating my work and me discussing my process. For those of you who don't know, I am a little bit addicted to shiny objects and new projects and all sorts of things. And one of the things I started was something called the Trailer Music School, which has its own YouTube channel. It had its own website and it has its own podcast, or had its own podcast called the Trailer Music Composers Podcast. One of the things I absolutely loved about doing that was the ability to record a podcast where I could just take my phone on a walk and just chat about a given subject, whether that was the best gear for a composer, or how to beat the imposter syndrome, or you're in a critic, or even just, my process. And I kind of have been, over the last 4 years, kind of fumbling my way around what I think is the best way for me to work, which is, I tried YouTube, where the thing is, I dabbled ever so slightly. I've been very inconsistent, because I'm like, let's do your Logic tutorial, let's do a piano tutorial, and I sort of jump about bit by bit. Excuse me. And I found myself feeling a little bit dissatisfied. But one of the things that always satisfied me the most was recording podcasts. Because of this long form content, people go into it to listen for a long time. It's not about needing to retain your attention, because you're not listening to be entertained in that way. You're listening kind of because you like the people who run the podcast, and that's why I love certain podcasts. I love them because of the people who run the show. And oftentimes I'm like, you don't need the guest, just talk to us. And I think that is what I found. My podcast resonated with a lot of listeners. The thing with it was that it was a relatively small audience, because trailer music and trailer music composers is it's a small group and a small niche of people. So I found that I almost ran out of things to say, and it kind of lost steam a little bit, because I found myself wanting to talk about other things that weren't related to trailer music. I found myself wanting to talk about other styles of music, because I am and always have been fascinated by lots of different things. So I closed the website, the Trailer Music School, and merged it with my website. And I've still got the YouTube channel, Trailer Music, because obviously I still want to teach people how to write trailer music. The podcast is just sitting there, and it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel weird. It makes me feel like, hold on, are people expecting more episodes from that, or what? I mean, I never did an episode where I said, I'm ending the show. I just kind of carried on, occasionally uploading YouTube videos to this channel and also to my trailer music channel. But recently I said to myself, why don't you try doing some really cool, snappy, silly editing? Because I quite like being a bit silly. I quite like having a bit of a laugh. And I did a few, and it just didn't feel right. So I went back to doing what I do, which is I write a track and I record the whole thing from start to finish. That's pretty much how all of my courses are. All of my courses are me basically showing my process. I go into more detail in the courses just because I kind of then break down each step and go into, a lot of specifics. But I really enjoy that, because it kind of feels like I'm just talking to you and you are listening. And that's what I want. I want to think of this as me talking to you. and me showing you what I'm doing. So I think I'm going to rebrand my Trading Music Composers podcast. I say I think. I really want to. I'm a little bit worried that it's going to cause some kind of weird backlash. I don't know why, but I want to rebrand the podcast because I want to kind of carry on the same format, but just talk about sound, tracks, and being a composer, being a producer. It'd be a broader thing, basically, to enable me to talk more openly and more freely about other subjects. I mean, I launched a second podcast called Composed, so I could talk about more mindset-specific things, which is on this channel. I then launched another show called The Richard Schreiber Show, back when I was known as Richard Schreiber, which was a moniker for my trailer music work. So I could interview people who do other things other than trailer music. I've been kind of like grabbing at other things. I launched a soft piano podcast because I wanted to do soft piano, but what I started to do was, in my search for everything to be contained in boxes, I then just completely overwhelmed myself. I had way too many things going on all at the same time. And that's, still a little bit the case. But me doing this, sort of standing here and saying, you know what, actually, I just want to do long form stuff. I really, really like it. And I'm always telling people to embrace what they enjoy and embrace those aspects of themselves and their work that really resonate. It never really resonated me really choreographing or scripting my videos. I know that probably makes more business sense for me because I'll get higher attention, higher engagement, and the YouTube videos will do a lot better. But I'm not necessarily doing this for huge amounts of engagement and stuff like that. I'm doing this because I'm talking to you. It's like hanging out with my friend and just explaining the process. It's also a little bit about me having company because I'm on my own all the time. My wife works at home, but she's got her own little garden studio where she does her work, her artwork. And we have lunch together, and that's cool. But I love chat. I love having a little bit of banter. And when you're sat there, working, it sometimes gets a bit like, And the first time I experienced this was when I was recording the videos for the Trading Music course. I was making myself laugh whilst I was doing it because I was cracking jokes about what I was doing. And I was thinking, actually, this is really fun. It makes it quite enjoyable. It does slow my process down a bit. I could just write a piece of music in half an hour, a complete piece of music very quickly, very easily, with very little friction. But because I'm talking and because I'm explaining a little bit of what I'm doing here and there, and usually throwing in some analogies and stories, it then takes a bit longer, which I don't mind. In fact, I really enjoy, and I'm really relishing that. And this is what this video or this audio is about. It's about me kind of explaining that to you. So what can you expect from this series? Long-form content, OVs. Probably more chat-based stuff. I don't mean like Chat GPT. I mean long-form content that enables me to have a conversation with you whilst I'm writing. And the main focus here is me just sharing what I'm working on as I work on it. If I'm doing a trailer track, I'll record it, I'll upload it, and I'll tell you about it. If I'm doing a dark ambient track, I'll record it, and I'll talk you through the process, and I'll share it. This isn't like really focused education. This isn't really focused entertainment, and I wouldn't even call it edutainment. I'd probably just call it hanging out with your composer buddy, I guess. You might be thinking this is actually like a really weak sales pitch, but I think it's really important for me to run with what feels right. And this long form stuff feels right. I've already said this in a couple of the videos that actually I really like these ones, because sometimes when you're writing, like, something comes up in your head and you just want to go, actually, I'll explain this while I'm doing it. But other times, if I was thinking about editing, I'd chop all that stuff out. I'd just be like, top 5 plugins for Logic, Bosch 5, Bosch 4, Bosch 3, Bosch 2. I'm not saying Bosch, the drills. I'm just, it didn't feel organic and it didn't feel nice. And that's why I love podcasts. And I think I'm kind of reframing my YouTube approach to this whole long form podcast thing, where instead of me interviewing a guest, it's me just chatting to you whilst writing. There'll be some episodes where I do other things as well, and that's the whole point, because actually as a composer and a producer of music, I don't know, maybe 25% of my time is writing music. The other 75% of time is doing stuff like making videos, or like this, or editing, or like replying to emails. I'm not gonna make a video of me replying to emails. As much as I think I'm quite funny, I think that would be insanely boring. It's, if it was going to be a hashtag, it would be like hashtag composer life. What? But that's the approach I want to take with this. And I think sometimes I'll, mix it up a little bit, but I want this channel to almost be like my courses and like a podcast. You're in this for the long haul because you want to see the process of a professional composer, and hopefully because you find my company jovial or entertaining or whatever, or at least I don't make it so boring. And I think that's the thing, because often if I was watching a YouTube tutorial on composing, I would just skip. Boom, where's the bit I need to know? Skip to it. Whereas if I'm watching a show because I like the person doing it, I'd watch the whole thing. I'm not here necessarily to learn a specific thing. I'm here to be with that person. I would watch an Andrew Huang video. My favourite of his were actually his vlogs, where he's just chatting. Then he does a little video of himself being like, "Hey, I'm in the hotel room and I'm trying to come up with this." I loved that stuff. I still love that stuff, and I love Mariah Elizabeth. My daughter loves this YouTuber called Mariah Elizabeth, who creates they're insanely well edited, and they're very, very funny. But the thing is, quite long. They're quite long form, but she makes it entertaining. And I think that's it. It's I think this is about me hanging out with you. I'm really excited about this because it just feels right. It feels like actually I'm now able to like decompartmentalize my work. Because before this I'd be like, oh, I'm so afraid of all these niches interacting, but I just feel like this should be the hub of everything I'm doing. If I'm doing some synthwave stuff, I'll tell you about it. If you like synthwave, which you probably do, then you can go check it out. Brilliant. If you like ambient piano, which you probably do, because you're like me and you like understanding and enjoying a whole ton of music. It's the thing. I not since I was a teenager have I ever been hugely obsessed with a specific type of music. I might go through phases of like just wanting to hear synthwave or just wanting to hear like punk rock, but I will be dipping in and out because I listen to music according to how I'm feeling. Sometimes I want to feel chilled, sometimes I feel angry, sometimes I feel this, that, and the other. And I felt like, I really want to do a video about this, but it doesn't fit into any of the boxes I've created for myself. And having this is just great. I just recorded the one about writing dark ambient music, and before that I was doing one about lo-fi, and even just one holding my acoustic guitar and recording and just chatting whilst I'm recording it. It felt really cool. It feels really nice, and I'm really, really excited about what is in store. I might do some interviews because I still like doing the interviews. The thing I found with interviews is the pressure of keeping them regular, and they do take a lot more time than you think to organise. I didn't really fully appreciate that. I listened to the Tim Ferriss show and be like, man, one interview a week, is that all he has to do? And you don't see how much work goes in to getting that guest to show up. And the amount of podcasts I had where I was going to record with someone and they'd cancel and then we'd rebook and they'd cancel with the rebook, and then because they cancelled, I didn't have an episode for that week, so then I'd feel guilty and go into a mad rush and it'd be like, And I suppose that's the other thing is just having this, I can just schedule it, bosh, done, a week. And it feels a lot more natural. This strange idea of consistently putting stuff out on all your content, consistency. Although that's cool, it kind of made me feel really trapped. Oh, I've got to do a podcast episode this week. Oh, I've got to do another video for YouTube. Oh, I've got to do another video for because the problem was I'd compartmentalized everything into so many small boxes that I had 7 channels. I think I've got about 15 channels, if I'm honest with you. I had 7 channels. I was like, well, I haven't done a video for that. And then there's my website. I haven't done any blogs for a while. Oh, I haven't sent an email for ages. And it just felt like I was just throwing everything up in the air just for the sake of being able to label everything. When in actual fact, this is going to be everything. This is the life and work of a full-time composer and music producer. And I'm really excited about having you along for the ride.